Hey guys, today we're going to do the unboxing and overview of the Sony MDR-Z7M2s. So these are fairly high-end headphones from Sony. It's not their highest-end headphone. That would be the MDR-Z1R, which is like $1,600, $1,800 around that price. So those are very expensive. I don't have the budget for those. But these are their next level down. So the second most expensive headphones retailing for $800 MSRP. You can easily find these online for around half that price. So I found this for $400 online. So yeah, I was just curious to see how these compare to some of the other high-end closed back headphones I've tried recently. So these days I've tried a lot of high-end headphone brands like Focal and Hi-Fi Man, Dan Clark, Audio-Technica, Fostex, Denon. It's actually easy to forget. You know, for some audiophiles, it might be easy to forget that Sony does make a lot of high-end headphones right up there with the rest. So yeah, like I think when people think of Sony headphones, they generally think of the wireless headphones, right? Like the noise canceling ones, 1000XM4s, 1000XM5s, that level of wireless noise canceling headphone, which is more consumer, like mass market consumer oriented. But some people forget that Sony also caters to the high-end audiophile market as well, and this being one of them. So this is their second most expensive. I was just very curious to try it out. You know, going to see what Sony's high-end product offerings are about. I've never actually tried any of these very high-end Sony audiophile level, you know, products. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this is like. Unfortunately, just like with other Sony products, all of Sony's products except for the PlayStation honestly have pretty bad naming, so it's not easy to remember. I'll just call these the Z7M2s. Yeah, it's generally they're not very good with the product names. 360-degree audio, high res. Yeah, so yeah, I'm curious to see how these are like and how they would compare with some of the other high-end closed back headphones I have. Yeah, these retail for around the same price as my Fostex TH610s and Denon D7200s. So I'd be very curious to compare this against those headphones as well. I mean, these are all pretty high-end Japanese closed back headphones. So yeah, let's see what's in the box here. All right. Oh, these are the headphones itself. Looks like this actually. Actually, I think it's supposed to be like here. Kind of just like dropped out. Okay, so on this side we have our connectors here. Okay, so we have our Sony limited warranty. Yeah, again, don't need to read that, but we're all familiar with that. If you've ever bought a Sony product, that's pretty much the same. We get a pair of, are these 3.5 connector cables? They look like 3.5 connector cables. If they are, then that's good because those are pretty widely used connectors. And okay, we get two cables here. One of them is a 3.5 millimeter terminating connector. This is a single-ended connector, and you have the 6.35 millimeter adapter as well, which is nice. So this is going to be your single-ended cable. Then we have a balanced cable, which they also give you as well. This terminates in a 4.4 millimeter, which, by the way, I have to mention that the 4.4 millimeter connector, which is super common in balanced connectors now, this was pioneered and pretty much pushed by Sony. Like before anyone else was pushing it, the 4.4 Pentacon connector, this was a kind of like a Sony creation, and they really pushed this with their high-end Walkmans and stuff. So yeah, they are basically the driving force behind the 4.4 millimeter, and now it's pretty widely adopted now in the industry. So anyways, it's nice to give us two pairs of cables here. 3.5 for, you know, most products that you have, and then the 4.4. I'm going to use it with the 4.4 because I have a DAP, a digital audio player, to use it with. All right, and that's pretty much it. There's no carrying case. It's just like a nice box to put your headphones in. And then these are the headphones in themselves, which is, man, they really went with the pure black, didn't they? This is as black as you can get. Yeah, pretty solid black here. Although this is pretty nice material here. Like it just feels really solid here. And this is not plastic at all. This is like some kind of metal aluminum. So it's, here's how solid that is, right? Yeah, definitely Sony did a good job with the construction of these headphones. Feels really solid here. It looks bland. I know it's just this plain black Sony thing. Definitely looks bland compared to my Fostex or my Denon, both of which have wooden ear cups. This one is just this plain, you know, black finish, but you know, I guess that's they didn't want to stand out too much with that. Have a leather headband right here, so pretty high quality as you would expect at this price range. You have the left and right markers. This is pretty much the same as in their wireless headphones, which I'm pretty familiar with. And these big ear cups here, which are pretty nice as well. Was this like sheepskin, soft sheepskin leather or something? Yeah, anyways, it's definitely really nice feeling ear cups. So these should be pretty comfortable. They feel pretty comfortable. The connectors here, which are nicely color coded, that's nice because a lot of the times, like if they don't color code them, I always get confused, you know, like which cable goes in where. If they don't mark it left and right, then it's hard to know. But yeah, thankfully Sony managed to color code them. This one's white, this one's red. I now know that like my audiophile friend just kind of gave me this nice tip. Whenever you have a red cable, just think that's red for right, and then the other one will be left, right? So red for right, the other one's left. If they don't have this color coded, that's the way to figure it out. They do not go like flat. They only swivel like this, so they don't fold down flat like their wireless headphones. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Their 1000XM5s don't really fold down flat either. Like, yeah, they just don't. So they just swivel like this. But I guess that's okay, but it, you know, this is a closed back, so some people might want to use it for portable listening and traveling, but it doesn't come with a carrying case and it doesn't fold down flat, so that's kind of an annoying thing. So on the inside here, you have kind of a special, they call this a Fibonacci, like kind of like grill right here. It's a special grill that Sony made. Very, very interesting. It looks very like complex. The spiral Fibonacci like type of pattern here on their grills. I'm not sure how easy it is to see that, but yeah, the grill looks really interesting on the inside of the ear cups right here. And I wonder how it affects the sound here. Yeah, anyways, so I'm going to test it against my Fostex TH610s and Denon D7200s, which are around the same price range, and I'll let you guys know what I think. So yeah, stay tuned. Alright, so now I have the Sony Z7M2s here, along with a couple other select headphones of mine that are kind of around the same price range. I also want to compare this against the Shure SRH 1540s as well, which are also closed backs around $500. Don't have it here right now, but I'll also tell you guys my impressions of this compared to that one. So yeah, let's get started here and listen to some tracks. Alright, here we go. These are actually very high sensitivity, like they don't require that much power to drive. And I found this is the case for most Japanese headphones I've listened to. It just seems like with Japanese headphones, they're all fairly easy to drive, whether it be Sony's or Fostex or Denon's or Audio-Technicas. They've all been fairly easy to drive. So this is the same thing. Like, it doesn't need too much power. I can just you can drive this with a phone, no problem. Okay, I think I have the verdict on these headphones. So I have to say one thing: the MSRP of $800 is definitely not worth it. I would not pay $800 for these headphones. Like, if you can find them online at the street price of around, like, you know, $400, that's fine. I think these are pretty good for $400, but definitely not for $800. So I'll tell you what I like about these headphones first. First of all, they're fairly comfortable. They're not the most comfortable pair of headphones. Like my Dan Clarks are just incredibly comfortable. Yeah, they're definitely not like my Dan Clarks, but they're decently comfortable. I think they're pretty similar to the Denons and Fostex in the comfort department. But I would probably say the Shures and the Dan Clarks are a little bit more comfortable. Noise isolation is pretty good, as you would expect for over-ear closebacks. Yeah, so the sound performance, I like the fact that the mids here are fairly intimate and detailed, so that's good. And I think that's pretty much the only thing I can say about it that I like about these headphones is, yeah, the mids are pretty intimate and detailed. And that's pretty much it, because there's a lot of things I don't like about it. What I don't like about it is that there is a big mid-bass hump in this headphone. a lot actually. So this actually reminds me a bit of the Focal Radiance, except the Focal Radiance had a lot more detail. I mean, the mids are nice and detailed in this one, but the Focal Radiance is another level of detail. So that's even more detailed than this. Of course, that's more expensive, but yeah, that's what the mid-bass hump here reminds me of. It's almost overbearing, and I think it's more so than the Focal Radiance. I felt like already the Focal Radiance has a little bit too much mid-bass hump, but this one is way too much, and it kind of bleeds into the mids quite a bit actually. So yeah, that's the issue here. They pushed up the mid-bass way too much on these headphones. It really bleeds into the mids a lot, which is kind of a shame because the mids here are probably the best part of this headphone. But yeah, the bass just kind of ruins it. It just, yeah, it's pushed up too much, so it bleeds too much into the mids. So yeah, the mid bass is too pushed up on these. Another problem is the treble and the highs are a bit recessed on these, so you don't hear them as clearly. So these are not a headphone like for clarity. So you don't really hear that much treble or highs in this one. It's to me, it's definitely recessed. So yeah, the recessed highs and then the mid bass pushed up too much. That's what ruins these headphones for me. They're not close to bounce sounding at all. Really, the only thing I can say is just the mids are nice, but then there's better mids on my other headphones. Like the Fostex TH610s have much better mids. These have detailed mids too, but they're very wide, and also it doesn't have the other issues. Like it doesn't have the recessed treble, and it doesn't have that mid bass hump. So the Fostex TH610s are just, to me, they're just better in every way than the Z7M2s, and they look better too because of the wooden ear cups. But that's just a preference thing. Yeah, like if you want the detailed mids, but you want an even wider like soundstage for the mids, then the Fostex TH610s are better. And in terms of soundstage in general, it doesn't have much soundstage either. I mean, it's a closed back, sure, but yeah, can't say much in terms of soundstage. And really, the intimate mids are probably the best part of this headphone. The mid bass is pushed up way too much. But then again, if you're coming from a consumer Sony headphone like the 1000 XM5s, then this mid bass hump might be fine for you because those wireless headphones have a lot of mid bass. So I think if you're coming from a Sony wireless headphone, yeah, like the 1000 XM5s or whatever, or even a Bose headphone, then coming to this would probably the audiophile equivalent, right? Because this has a huge mid bass peak. And you probably might be used to that if you're used to those wireless headphones. Also, like heard the Meze 99 Classics are like that too, but haven't tried those. But yeah, I would say the defining feature of this headphone is that it has a lot of bass. I mean, if you're coming from a wireless headphone, yeah, sure. That bass might be fine for you, but it's not fine for me. I don't really like to have that much mid bass, especially if it bleeds into the mids that much. Mids are pretty nice and detailed, and the treble's recessed. I'd probably take the Fostex TH610s in every way because it has detailed mids, and also doesn't have that mid bass hump, and it's just overall it's a more it's a mid-forward headphone, so that kind of makes the mids stand out a bit, but overall it's definitely more balanced sounding than the Z7M2s. So I would take the Fostex TH610s at $700. MSRP wise, this is definitely a better deal for me than the Sonys. Of course, if you can find it discounted, then the Sonys are pretty good at $400. These ones are hard to find at $400. I don't think I've ever seen the TH610s at $400. These usually go for like $550, $600 maybe on the used market. So the Fostex definitely holds their value a lot better than the Sonys do. These Sonys, like, yeah, $400. That's at that price is fine, I guess. Yeah, I mean it's definitely a nice upgrade from the wireless versions, the 1000 XM5s. But these really are, I guess you can kind of think of the audiophile versions of the 1000 XM4s, XM5s, because they have that mid bass hump. It's just they have more detailed mids and stuff. Pretty much. If you can get them at $400, pretty good. I would never pay close to MSRP for these, because like I said, the Fostex TH610s are just better. Now, if you really do like bass, that's fine, but I would say the Denon D7200s are also a good bet too. These you can find for about $500, maybe $600 on the used market. These have much better quality bass. They're not overwhelming, they're not overpowering, and the bass here is very detailed, unlike the bass here. This bass here is not that detailed for me. The detailed bass here on the Slam is a lot better. So the D7200 is what I would recommend if you really want bass. I know it's a little bit more on the used market, but but I think it's worth it. Plus, these are just nice lookers, right? Like the walnut finish and everything. So I would say if you like bass, take the D7200s over the Sonys. The Dan Clark Aeon 2 closed is just another, it's just totally different headphone than this one, because this one is completely balanced. Literally almost the total opposite. This headphone is not balanced at all. This headphone is totally balanced, so you won't hear anything pushed up. No not like mids, treble, bass. Everything is, you know, relatively like balanced. There's nothing really pushed up or recessed on these. These are what I would consider to be fairly reference sounding headphones. I mean, it does lack in detail compared to like some other headphones like maybe Sennheiser or Focal, but overall the Dan Clarks are just, yeah, fairly balanced, the Aeon 2s. So if you're just looking for a balanced sound signature, the Dan Clarks are definitely the way to go. If you're looking for bass, the D7200s are the way to go, and then the Fostix TH610s if you're looking for the detailed mids. The Sony doesn't really do anything that well, I would say. Also, I want to compare to the Shure SRH 1540s, which retail for $500, and you can also find on the used market for like $350 or whatever. Those I would also consider to have a better sound signature, and also probably more detailed than these overall. I mean, the Shure's mids are pretty much just as detailed as the Sony's, except they also have more detailed bass and more detailed highs as well. So just all around, it's more detailed and balanced than the Sony's. I mean, the 1540s do have a bit of a bass push as well, but it's not overwhelming. It's not bleeding into the mids like the Sony's are. So I would take the Shure SRH 1540s as well over these Z7M2s, because it's more balanced sounding to me. It's got more detailed bass and more detailed highs. The highs aren't recessed. The bass isn't bleeding to the mids as much. You still get that detailed mid like you do on here. So yeah, overall, I would call this a bit of a disappointment. Like I was expecting probably, or maybe it does meet my expectation considering my experience with Sony's wireless headphones. So yeah, I guess maybe it's more or less what I expected, but it's still a little bit of a disappointment here. So if you're coming from the Sony 1000 XM4s or XM5s, this pretty much is the audiophile version of that. But you know, I've tried enough headphones at this point where that sound signature with that pushed up mid bass just doesn't work for me anymore. I want something a bit more balanced with more detail, and I don't want to have the recessed highs either. So yeah, these just don't do it for me. Like I said, there's better options all across the board. Like in terms of the same price range, yeah, any of these would be fine. But even if you're looking for something on the used market, then the Shure SRH 1540s at $350 on the used market, I would take over the Z7M2s. These are $400 or $350, right? So around the same price range on the street price. Street price, if they're around the same price range, then the SRH 1540s over these, I would definitely take them. Whereas if you go for MSRP, then there's even more headphones I would take over this, right? Like, yeah, the Fostix TH610s being a prime example, right? These retail for $700 MSRP, $800. I'm taking the Fostix every day. So, yeah, pretty much my conclusion. Yeah, like unless you're looking just to have an audiophile, like a more detailed version of the 1000 XM5s, there's no reason why I would go for these. Like, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. If you're coming from the Sony wireless stuff, then yeah, sure, if you want more detail all around, then this will have it. But yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that sound signature to begin with. So yeah, I would probably, MSRP wise, the Fostix TH610s. And then if you're looking for street price, I would just take the Shure SRH 1540s. And then if you're looking for the bass, Denon D7200s, you pay a bit more for that, but you know, it's worth it in my opinion. Or if you're looking for a balanced sound signature, you can't go wrong with the Aeon 2 or Aeon 2 Noirs. You know, those are just, they're highly recommended for a good reason. Everyone loves the Aeon 2 Noirs, which is just like a tuned version of this. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll have a sound comparison test coming up, of course, where I can compare the Sonys against all the headphones I just mentioned. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Maybe there are some of you out there who like that Sony 1000 XM4, XM5 like wireless headphone sound signature, where they push up the mid bass a lot and kind of recess the treble a bit. If you like that sound signature, then these are the the more detailed upgrade version of that. But yeah, for me, I think there's many other headphones I would take around the same price range. So yeah, the problem with these is that they have that same bloated mid bass that their wireless headphones have, and yeah, I'm just not like a huge fan of that sound. I know if you're coming from those wireless headphones and you like that sound, then hey, maybe these might be for you. But I want my sound to be like more even balanced. I'm not saying I want something like completely like neutral or analytical. Like that's the reason I'm not like a huge fan of the full cal clears, for example, or a lot of full cal products and Sennheiser products like the HD 650s or the full cal clears. They're almost too linear, like too analytical, and I didn't like them too much. So I'm not saying I want completely like balanced like that, but this is just too much, right? It's just too unbalanced for me. I like to have a fun headphone, but these are, yeah, just for me, if you're coming from that wireless Sony stuff, then yeah, this is pretty much right up that alley. But for me, yeah, the bloated mid bass, the recessed treble, that's just too much for me. If I want to have like a very fun headphone, I think the Denon D7200s out of this group or the Shure SRH 1540s are probably going to be my pick. They're very fun headphones, so they're not like totally like linear or analytical sounding at all. So they're not exactly referenced, but at the same time, they're not too unbalanced like the Sonys are either. So anyways, I just want to tell you guys, this is just, yeah, not my thing. So these are basically just like Sony's wireless headphones, the 1000XM4s or 1000XM5s. It's got this very similar tuning, just with more detailed mids. That's it. And I guess better build quality. So yeah, if you guys are into that, then this is the headphone for you.